We have some pretty big news coming out of the raw pet food world. The FDA has come out with a very stern warning regarding Darwin's natural selections pet food for dogs and cats. And so in this video, we are going to delve into the different varieties of pet food that have been recalled, what this means, what you should do, and broadly speaking, whether this is good or bad for the raw pet food industry and whether pet food recalls are any good at all. So the US Food and Drug Administration is cautioning pet owners that FDA samples of 5 Darwin's natural pet products, raw and cat food made by Arrow Reliance, tested positive for Salmonella, and a 6th sample tested positive for Salmonella and Listeria. The affected products here are sold in frozen 2-pound packages and consist on certain lots of Darwin's Natural Selections antibiotic and grain-free chicken recipe for cats and Darwin's Natural Selection antibiotic and grain-free chicken recipe for dogs. These product lots should not be fed to your pets. Now, the company itself sells their products via subscription, and it's one of these companies where you just input information about your dog or cat and they send you something through the post on a regular basis. Now, the FDA is cautioning here that if you, the consumer, have any pet food on the list here, you should be advised to throw it away in a secure container. Do not feed it to your pets and do not donate the food. Now, obviously, it is important that you contact the manufacturer and you contact the company straight away, and I am sure they are going to be doing something, putting some systems into place so that you can be satisfied and compensated should something happen to you. Now, as a raw feeder, this is an absolute nightmare, and it is obviously a nightmare for you and not very good news for the rest of the industry. So raw pet food always has had this target on its back that it is dangerous to handle and it can be potentially pernicious for us humans and for our dogs and cats. And hey, Salmonella and Listeria are two of the most common, especially Salmonella, two of the most common drawbacks or things that people latch onto in order to criticize raw pet food. So I want to give you a bit of an indication as to why this is good and why pet food recalls tend to be good on the overall. If you are a manufacturer, the last thing you want to do is recall and put a big banner of news saying that your food should not be consumed by your customers. It is absolutely a marketing disaster. There is no two bones about it. By the way, if you are curious about what food is best for your dog, you can download for free a copy of the 10 Pillars of Dog Nutrition, and that is a wonderful guide for you to check whether you are doing things right or wrong or whether you could improve something. The last thing a manufacturer wants is unwanted attention, and this is horrible. However, as we said in the Purina recall scandal or speculation malarkey, any steps from a manufacturer to ensure that their pet food is good is always good for consumers, and you can go and watch that video next. But as to whether this is a black eye for the raw pet food industry, as I always say to people, we aren't talking to people who raw feed who are reckless. We talk to people who actually take the time, the effort, and they know what to do with raw pet food and they handle it correctly and they are good actors. Yes, Salmonella is a risk, it's a minor risk, and in this occasion, Darwin's pet food has been heavily affected by these news. And by the way, just as a side note, I do like the fact that on Darwin's website, they say antibiotic-free chicken or antibiotic-free beef. That's a really good indication that the cuts of meat you are getting in the food tend to be quite good on the upper echelon of what you can get as a consumer for your dog or cat. The one thing I don't like is the amount of vegetables they put in the food. 25-26% in my opinion is on the upper end of what I would like any dog to be consuming. Some would argue that maybe 5 to 10% max vegetables would be good. Anything else, in my opinion, dilutes down the amount of meat that you are going to get. And at the end of the day, you want to be paying for meat. You do not want to be paying for filler. Now, they have cut the curve quite quickly, and so you should get this message and check on the back of every single tub or every single product that you have from them that your lot hasn't been affected. Now, in terms of the risks of salmonella and how dangerous it can potentially be, yes, of course, you could die from salmonella and you could get really ill from salmonella. And the same with listeria, especially with pregnant women. It can have an adverse reaction in them. However, salmonella tends to be something quite minor and something that is often blown up out of proportion by detractors of raw pet food. Should you be concerned about it? Yes. Should you keep an eye on it? Should you be responsible when you handle raw meat and raw pet food? Absolutely. On this channel, we love raw pet food and we think that fresh food is the way to go because the dangers, potential dangers of commercial kibble and some of the ingredients that they put in kibble are absolutely atrocious. However, today the kibble companies and the kibble conglomerate and the kibble lobby will be very, very happy, I think, that this will have happened to raw pet food. I would be very curious to see what you think about Darwin's natural pet foods, whether you like them, whether you don't like them. Have you been affected by this? Has the company handled your complaint or your concerns appropriately? Have they been invested in you as a customer? Just for a bit of context, we do not affiliate with any brands and we have no affiliation with Darwin, so that you can rest assured that we can give you the news as they are and we can voice our own opinions how we see fit. Regarding the issue of safety, we always say that if you want to do this properly, you really need to pay attention to what you are doing in terms of handling raw meat safely and doing things by the book. And if that is something you want to be doing, I highly recommend you watch this video next.